بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Dear beloved viewers, I welcome you with an Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are discussing zakat, and zakat touches different kind of assets, and we have reached the asset of livestock. And in the previous episode we discussed about the livestock, zakat on livestock in details, but in today's episode there are just a few issues that I'm going to discuss before we proceed and look at other forms of assets that are zakatable. So with respect to zakat on animals, we concluded by discussing, the previous episode we concluded by discussing the conditionalities that needs to be met for the animal that you give as zakat. So if you had 40 to 120 goats, you are required to give one goat of 1 year old. So the question here that comes is, what if I don't have the goat of 1 year old to give? The ones that I have are 6 months, or they're 2, they're 3, they're 4. I don't have a goat of 1 year old. What am I supposed to do? So there are two opinions with regards to this situation. The first one is from Imam Malik, that says you will have to buy a goat of 1 year and give zakat. So Imam Malik is of the view that you still have to give the goat, not cash or anything. You have to buy a goat of 1 year and give zakat. Imam Abu Hanifa says that you can pay in monetary forms, in cash. So you will find out what is the market price of a goat of 1 year and give cash as your zakat. So these are the two views with respect to this challenge that is real and it can happen, that you don't have an animal of a particular age that you need to give. So it's the same principle, the same fatwa or the same position would apply for, say, cow. Okay, you are required to give one cow of 1 year old, tabi'i, and you don't have with you. So the Imam Malik is of the view that you will have to buy the tabi'i and give zakat. Or you can follow the view of Imam Abu Hanifa that you can give out cash that is of the value of the tabi'i. Okay, so these are two views that exist with respect to this issue. Now, after discussing about these 4 animals, there is an ongoing discussions with regards to beekeeping with honey, and also there is a question that somebody who keeps cows for milk, okay, not for selling or things like that, it's for milk. What about them? So with respect to those who are engaging in beekeeping economic activities, is there zakat for honey? Now, with respect to this question, there are 2 views. The first view among the scholars says that there is no zakat. And this is the view of Imam Malik, al-Shafi'i, Ibn Abi Layla, and others. They say there is no zakat on honey. The other view says that there is. You have to give zakat, and this is the view of Abu Hanifa, Ibn Abbas, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, even the contemporary scholar Sheikh Al-Qaradawi. The challenge here is, now how much do you give? There is no clear text that says how much you give. So the strongest opinion here is there is no zakat for honey that is harvested. Okay, but it is advisable to give sadaqah out of this ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, to give out something out of it. With respect to those who says there is, you should, okay, you should give zakat on honey. They say that you can give 10%, okay, of the honey that you harvested. The view of we say this is the view of Imam Abu Hanifa, that says there is zakat on honey, and they say the rate is 10%. Okay, so if you want to follow this view, that is the rate that you should apply. But it doesn't have any nisab. So under this view, any quantity of honey that you harvested, you'll have to pay 10% out of it as zakat. This is the view of Imam Abu Hanifa. As for milk, there is no zakat for milk, because you pay zakat on the number of cows that you have or number of goats that you have. There is no zakat for milk or things like that. Now, that concludes our long discussion on zakat on livestock and some of these issues that we have discussed. We want to move into zakat with respect to shares, company shares. These days, we set up companies, and these companies are registered with government authorities, and there are shareholders that contribute capital and become owners of these companies. Now, shareholders or holding shares also forms part of an asset of a person. And if you are owning your shares in a trading company that engages in business and so on, you are required to pay zakat as well. So today you find there are companies that are listed in the stock exchanges, like Nairobi Stock Exchange, or Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, or New York Stock Exchange, among others, that you can buy a share of that particular company and expect to either the shares to increase the price or to get a dividend at the end of the year or from time to time. So the position with respect to zakat is there is zakat on shares. Okay. However, they should meet the following condition. The first condition is we'll have to look at the intention. The intention of the shareholder is to maybe sell or to appreciate. Okay, so he's holding for the purpose, for the intention of selling them once the value has appreciated, or to earn an income, a dividend income. So the second condition is hawl. Okay, zakat on share you will pay once in a year. They must reach an nisab. They should reach an nisab. It's not just any maybe 2 shares or 3 shares, but of course it could be 1 or 2 shares, but the nisab, it is the value of the share that matters here rather than the quantity. It's not 1 or 2, 3 or 4 shares that matters, the value. If the value of that number of shares has reached the nisab, which in this particular case the nisab is that of money, which is 85 grams of gold. If it reaches that value, then you will have to pay zakat accordingly. So it is mandatory for a Muslim shareholder to pay zakat if it meets those conditions. But sometimes we find that a company, if it is run by a Muslim, a company, by the consensus of the shareholder, also the company itself can pay zakat. Okay, if the company itself pays zakat, then you have no obligation to pay also zakat, because zakat has already been paid by the company. But if it doesn't pay, the zakat is not paid by the company, which is the case for most of the public listed companies in our part of the world, because we are living in countries where Muslim and non-Muslim can own similar companies. Then you as a Muslim, you become obliged to pay zakat on the value of your shares from time to time, that is yearly. So in this particular aspect, as we said, it should meet a number of conditions. The first is that you pay zakat on your shares for a business that is halal, that operates, that sells halal goods or provide halal services. Okay, so you should be the owner of that particular share, and you will pay your zakat based on the market value of your shares. Based on the market value of your shares. And if the market value of your shares is not known, then you must engage valuers, professional valuers, to value your shares in that particular company. This is the position of Majlis Majma' al-Fiqh al-Islami. Okay. So there are several steps that are involved in calculating zakat for shares, but I'll not go into details for this episode, but rather I will advise you to consult with the Islamic finance scholars to advise you on how to calculate your zakat on shares. And I hope you will be properly guided with respect to that. Now, before we take this break, it is important for Muslim shareholders to know that if the company doesn't pay zakat, then it is upon them to pay zakat based on the number of shares that they have, the value of shares, and this has to be done yearly. With that being said, let us take a short break and continue by looking at the beneficiaries of zakat.